Hello and welcome to Winchester Now. I'm Mary Blaxland with some of the stories making the news in our city this week, including a heated debate about the future of Bushfield Camp. Steve Brine talks to us about stepping down as MP. Hundreds of people pedal, paddle and pace for charity, and we meet the young musicians preparing to rock it out. Winchester Radio. A heated meeting has seen residents grilling developers over controversial plans for Bushfield Camp. Proposals for the derelict army base include a business park, student accommodation and a hotel. Anna O'Brien was there.
The meeting at the Badger Farm Community Centre was attended by around 100 people and lasted more than 2.5 hours, with many residents angrily voicing objections. The main causes of concern were about the size of the development, extra traffic, noise and pollution. Some questioned the need for student accommodation, a knowledge park or hotel. Damage to wildlife and the environment was also a worry. The site has been derelict for many years and subject to antisocial behaviour, and there were some present who welcomed the regeneration. I spoke to two of the local councillors, Conservative Jan Warwick and Liberal Democrat Adrian Brophy, about their views.
This site has been known about for a long time, but it's sat dormant for many years, so I think people are really nervous about what's going to be proposed on this site. We don't really know as yet exactly what's going to be there, other than there'll be some sort of development. What I'm really keen to know is what the evidence base for that development is, so that we don't build something on what's essentially a greenfield site now that's no longer used or is not useful to the residents locally. So that's my biggest concern, I would say, and I think that came through in the meeting today. A lot of people raise very similar issues.
And before the meeting, Jan, what had residents been saying to you about this development? Because the consultation's been going on for a number of weeks.
Yeah, and I've gone to meetings at every parish locally. The biggest worry is student accommodation that will overrun Badger Farm and parking overloads in Badger Farm, and then the traffic implications. Actually, there's a huge amount that could be tied up with this project.
The only question is, if that site, with the asbestos concerns, with the pollution concerns, with the vandalism that we do see up there, with the amount of broken glass, whether or not this site can be made into a safer space, a more accessible space. I mean, for myself, one of the things that you find in Badger Farm is that we have Starbucks, we have Sainsbury's, and we have this rather remarkable and wonderful community centre that's hosting us tonight. Can we find an opportunity to develop the site in a way that gives us more? Now I think it's up to the community to get engaged, to make sure we get something really exciting out of it as well. If they don't address some of the problems, I don't think that's possible, and I think we should all watch those problems but also look at the opportunities as well in a balanced way.
The master plan for the site has been endorsed by Winchester City Council, so hearing the arguments, I asked Council Leader Martin Todd what he would take away from the meeting.
I'm taking away a lot of what I'd heard from people before. That a lot of people really love the site. They love the relative wildness of it. They love the fact that there is a lot of nature and the different wildlife that lives there, the plants that grow there. For some people, there's a really deep emotional attachment to the place. And there are also very practical concerns, and I think probably the biggest one, and it was one which when we discussed it at the City Council Cabinet, we said, this is a problem, you need to come up with an answer. And the big one is traffic, that I think people are concerned about, and the way that it could end up putting pressure, particularly on Badger Farm. And this was Badger Farm Parish Council, so that's what you'd expect. And I think linked to that is the whole question of massing and scale. And I think that's partly because people are worried about the views, but I think it's also partly because if you have a lot of offices and a lot of car parking, then you'll get a lot of movement on the road. And that's the thing that people are watching. And I think the thing that needs to be answered by the developer when they get to the planning process.
And I think also, in this part of the city, there is a bus route, and that's under strain. There aren't enough bus drivers. It doesn't run to its timetable. And so it is putting more pressure on the services and the infrastructure in this part of the city.
Yeah, and I think that could be a conversation that needs to be had, where if the developer is able to come up with a plan which improves public transport for people in Badger Farm and Oliver's Battery, then maybe some people may be persuaded as a result. That was an important challenge that people laid out, and they could understand the logic and what they're trying to do, but what they were also saying was, tell us how it's going to make our life better. How are things going to be better for people in Badger Farm in particular as a result of this big development right on our doorstep?
The developers say this site has been earmarked for development for many years. Traffic impact has been assessed, and the development will offer employment opportunities, particularly for upskilling young people. Green areas will be preserved for the community and recreation. A planning application will be submitted with more details in the autumn. People can still have their say by visiting the website bushfieldcampregeneration.co.uk.
Now for some of the other stories making the news this week. I'm Steve Walker. Plans have been revealed which could see the closure of a nursing home in Winchester, but the building of a new one. It's under proposals by the Hampshire County Council to reorganise nursing and care provision across the county. West Home in Harestock Road is earmarked for closure, but not until 2026, with services moving to a new nursing home being built at Cornerways in Kingsworthy. The plans are being considered by councillors next week, with a consultation to be held in September. A new scheme to help young people with eating disorders is being created, following the announcement of £1.6 million of additional funding for Hampshire. A new Eating Disorder Day programme will be based at Lee House in Winchester, and is the first of its kind in the county. It offers an alternative to inpatient care, allowing young people to be treated while staying at home with their families. The service is set to open later this year and is expected to support an additional 60 young people each year. Archaeological work has started this week at the back of the bus station, as part of the Central Winchester Regeneration Site. 4 trenches will be dug with the aim of recording evidence of the Roman townscape, occupation in the Anglo-Saxon periods, and medieval settlements. There will be an opportunity for people to view the work later this month.
Conservatives in Winchester meet next Friday evening to start the process of choosing a new candidate to stand at the next general election. It follows the announcement by Steve Brine that he is stepping down as MP. Meon Valley MP Flick Drummond will be considered first, as her current seat is disappearing due to boundary changes. If she's unsuccessful, other candidates will be considered. Meanwhile, Steve Brine has given his first interview to Winchester Radio since his announcement and told us he has no regrets.
No regrets at all. Of course, I do nice things alongside my job, and I think, oh, I shall miss this. And I meet lovely people all the time. But no, I just decided that I've been in Parliament for 13 years. It'll probably be 14 and a half years by the time of the next election. For everything there is a season. I genuinely believe that sometimes you have to clear away old growth in order to allow new growth. Personally, spiritually, I think that's really important, and I've loved doing it, but no regrets. There's a long way to go yet in this Parliament, and I've got a lot more still to do, but no, I think it's the right thing.
You talk about the next election. There are some people saying, well, maybe you feared losing the next election and that's why you've left now.
Well, my opponents say that, but then they would, wouldn't they? The truth is that if I stood, in the new constituency, I'm sure I would be successful. It's not that I don't want to lose, it's that I don't want to win. I don't want to do this for another 4 or 5 years. When we started here, and I say we because Susie and I are a partnership, I always said that I'd do 4 elections or 20 years, and that wasn't a hard and fast rule. Nobody can know that there would have been 2 elections or 3 elections actually in 4 years, that we would have had a pandemic, a coalition, a war, a cost of living crisis, and it's very, very hard work. It takes an awful lot out of you. I'm away in London 2-3 nights a week, and when I'm home, I'm everywhere in the constituency. I've attended 7 fates already this summer. I think even my fiercest opponents would say that I put my heart and soul into doing this job, and that comes at a price to family life, and it comes at a price to your mental health. I've learned that, when children are little, of course they need you on a basic caring level, but I think they need you more as they get older. My children are now in their early teens, and I think they need you more then, and I'd like to be around a bit more. I'd like not to be a rubbish husband and rubbish dad for another 5 years, so I think I've done my bit of public service.
So what's next for you then?
Well, it's about the things that I care about. I care about health. I care passionately about cancer. I lost both my parents relatively young. My dad 3 days after the last general election. And I care greatly about the cancer battle, the prevention. So there are things that I want to do in that space, and they will become clearer in due course. But at the moment, rightly, MP. I've been elected by the people of Winchester and Chalmers-Ford until the very last day of this Parliament, and I'll give them 100% of my focus until the very end, as I always have.
And what's your greatest achievement, do you think, as MP for Winchester? What's the thing you're most proud of doing for the people of Winchester?
Well, I always said it was priority NHS. I love our hospital. I have 2 children that were born there, and I think it's really special, the Royal Hampshire. I think it's big enough that it's got some really good services, but it's small enough that, it's quite intimate. And I've worked really, really hard to fight for services there, to support the trust. Just a couple of days before I announced that I wouldn't stand again, we secured 40 million quid of new investment to the hospital for a new orthopaedic outpatient facility. I've opened so many new bits of services at that hospital, and of course there are challenges to come, but I'm really proud that that hospital is where it is and holds a special place in the heart of Winchester. That, and visiting so many different schools over the years. When I first became the MP, we had the population bulge from the financial crisis that had led through in 2008, that by 2012-13 they were going to primary school and there weren't enough places in Winchester. I had to campaign really, really hard to get a massive expansion of places in our school system, and Hampshire County Council came through on that. And the thing that drove me into politics in the first place was the environment. Every communication I've ever put out to constituents, I've done something about the Green Winchester agenda that I care about and the wider environmental stuff, which I think matters a lot to my constituents, and it matters a lot to me. I feel very sure that something in that space will be in my future.
And anything you regret, anything you feel you haven't done that you wish you had done for the people of Winchester?
Not yet. There's still a long way to go of this Parliament. I suspect the Parliament's going to run well into 2024. And, the bedrock of this job, as I've always said, is your casework. And it's the thing that, you in the media and your constituents never hear about, but it's what we're doing day in, day out, is helping people who come to their MP. I absolutely love that, and I will really miss doing that, because you can really help people, you can really make a difference.
You talk about 2024 and a general election. Do you think the Conservatives can win Winchester, or do you think, as some people are saying, you're leaving a sinking ship?
Oh look, the Conservatives can 100% win a 5th term, but it's called a historic 5th term for a reason, because it's never been done, and they can 100% win the new Winchester constituency. People here will have to make a decision whether they want local boy Rishi Sunak or they want a dose of socialism in Keir Starmer, with Angela Rayner as probably the Deputy Prime Minister of this country. And yeah, the polls are big at the moment, there's a big Labour lead at the moment, but I hope people here will think very, very carefully before they vote in a way that lets in a socialist government, which I predict they won't like here very much at all.
But the Lib Dems have won here before, they could do it again.
Anybody could win, that's the whole point. We had a Labour MP in Winchester once. It's a simple choice, it's Keir Starmer or Rishi Sunak, and I think Rishi Sunak he's a personal friend, but he's also somebody who is 100% suited to the role of Prime Minister, and there's been a few duds in the last couple, but this guy's the real deal. I hope people in Winchester think very carefully before they vote in a way that loses him. Think very carefully would be my message.
Those few duds, though, could cost him, couldn't they?
Look, every party who's been in office for a long time carries baggage from that time, but they also carry achievements. And yeah, sure, many people here did not like Boris Johnson. It's well known that I was among them and fell out spectacularly with him. He threw me out my party until he asked me to come back. But there are many people who did like Boris. I sort of, as a Christian in politics, I think we have to be very careful about thinking that people are all hero or all villain. Boris Johnson is neither. He was the right man for the right time. The country voted for him in big numbers, and that is just a fact of electoral history. He should still be Prime Minister now, and he's not because of his own personal behaviour. He wasn't very well suited to the job, in my opinion. Rishi Sunak is.
Whoever wins, whichever party wins in Winchester next time, what advice would you give to the next MP for Winchester?
It's really, really, really hard work. Mark Oaten, who, for the record, is a good friend and was the first person to text me when my announcement that I wouldn't stand again went out. He said to me once, "Nobody owns Winchester," and nobody does. I think my opponents were incredibly bitter when they didn't win in 2019. They don't own this constituency, nor do the Conservatives. It's up to the people here to decide who they want as their MP, who will do a good job for them. And, this electorate, they're a very sophisticated electorate. They know what they see. They know who works hard. I think my advice to whoever takes over from me in due course will be work hard, be true to what you believe in, and every vote in the House of Commons, be sure that you can look yourself in the mirror after you've cast that vote, because that's ultimately what matters.
Now for more news from around the Winchester area. Proposals have been put forward to improve a notorious traffic black spot near Winchester. There have been numerous accidents at the Cart and Horses junction in Kingsworthy, and a woman in her 70s was killed there in 2022. 2 options are proposed to redesign the junction, with either traffic lights or construction of 2 new roundabouts. But any improvements are dependent on the outcome of a public examination into work on the M3 Junction 9. And a decision isn't expected on that until 2024. The County Council has started a survey asking for views and is also holding public information events, with the first one at the Worthies Jubilee Hall on the 19th of July from 3 until 7:30 p.m. A petition has been started calling for Winchester City Council to reverse its decision to end free parking between 7 p.m. and 8 a.m. in the city centre car parks. New fees came into place last week, which also saw parking charges increased on Sundays to the normal weekday rate. Winchester's first food festival has been declared a success. The event took place in the cathedral grounds on Sunday, with local producers showcasing their products and chefs taking part in demonstrations. Miranda Rocksmith spoke to us on behalf of the organisers, Hampshire Fair.
It's our first year, and yet we've had so many people come and turn up. So many of our store holders have actually sold out of their goods already, which has been absolutely fantastic. The cookery demonstrations have been really interesting, lots of varied different things using local ingredients. Really great favourite chefs in Winchester showcasing what they do. Really, really great to see so many people from the community turning out today and supporting local businesses. Been brilliant. Weather's been fantastic too. The amount of people that have said today that they really want to do this again, and also people will want to be involved next year. So I think the cathedral will be a new home for the Winchester Food Festival.
Finally, Jane Austen fans travel from across the globe to visit her final resting place at Winchester Cathedral. This week, the Jane Austen Society of North America was welcomed to the historic building. Prayers were said at her grave and memorial as everyone reflected on her lasting legacy.
Pedal Paddle Pace has returned to Winchester. The event is a triathlon and organised by Winchester Round Table, Winchester Ladies Circle and the Winchester 41 Club. It's the first time it's been properly held since before the pandemic.
3, 2, 1...
A klaxon marks the start of Pedal Paddle Pace 2023, and more than 200 cyclists leave the Broadway on a 20-kilometre bike ride, starting with a tough climb up St Giles Hill, then heading into the Itchen Valley.
Enjoy yourself!
Why are you taking part this year? Because I'd like to beat my younger brother, as per normal.
I'd like to beat my sister.
We think this is our 6th year of doing this race.
Are you going to stick together at all during the races?
We're going to stick together for the bike and maybe the run, but it's all fair game on the paddle.
That's the decider, yeah.
Yeah, the decider will be the paddle.
I used to be one of the organising committee. It's now nice to be able to go and do it again. And the last time we took part was in 2008. It's quite interesting to see whether I can even finish, but yeah, very exciting.
What made you want to take part this year?
Just getting involved in these sort of events, quite new to that, and then also a good cause for that MNDA association. So I'm doing it with my mum here. That's why, yeah.
How much are you looking forward to this?
Yeah, really looking forward to it. A bit nervous, but looking to get going. I've done one triathlon before, so it's just relatively new to it. But as you say, it's for good causes. So
nice to be able to do it together.
Absolutely, I love doing it with them.
Just the challenge of it, really, trying to be fitter, and I'm with my work colleagues, so just trying to be fitter really for me, and also it's a great charity, isn't it, to raise money for.
Where do you all work?
We work for Hampshire Hospital, so we work for the local hospital.
And have you been training hard for this?
Mostly running, a bit of cycling with the children, and I've literally kayaked about twice in my life, so that'll be the fun bit, but hoping not to go in the river.
Have a lovely day, thank you.
Just to say thank you very much for supporting the event. I wish you all the best on your journey out there.
Starting the event was Graham Saul. It's raising money for local charities including Naomi House and the Motor Neurone Disease Association. Later, Graham and his wife Jackie told me why it meant so much to them.
Well, it was 2 years ago at PPP when I got in the kayak and couldn't lift the paddle up that I realised that there was an issue with my arms which I did nothing about for several months, and then went to see the sports physio, and then he referred me to the chiropractor who referred me to the consultant neurologist at the Wessex, who gave me a definitive diagnosis quite quickly. That was last October, and just been dealing with it ever since. But the problem with motor neurone disease is there is no cure. There are no exercises you can do to slow down the condition. It's just a matter of you're on the downhill slope to the end. The steepness of that slope varies from person to person.
So it's so important to have events like this to raise money for the organisation.
Yeah, and both internationally and nationally they're doing a lot of research with the Doddy Weir Foundation and the Rob Barrows effort. Every scrap of money helps with that, but also the way the organisation's set up, there's local organisations of the MNDA support sufferers with coffee mornings and with physical support in terms of giving you bits of equipment that may help you out in your day-to-day life, and also mental health support for both me and my wife, who's my carer.
The MND bubble that you fall into is just amazing. They are a great support. We have met so many professionals who are involved in this and make our journey slightly easier. The MND say that you are never alone, so to actually make sure that there's somebody with you every step of the way is just amazing help when you feel that everything's not going quite as well as you want it to. So yes, it's just a journey that we only just started, but hopefully we can actually get through it together.
There was entertainment, food and drink in Palmer's Field awaiting the cyclists before they took on a 5-kilometre run and 2-kilometre kayak along the Itchen navigation. Children living nearby shouted words of encouragement.
So this is Andy Chalmers from Winchester Round Table, the Winchester PPP chairman for 2023. It's absolutely amazing to have it back on. The family-friendly community feel at the event is absolutely great, and it's great to bring that back into Winchester and to the community.
Must have taken a lot of organising.
It took a lot of organising, but we had great help from the committee who put it on for the last 19 years. And we've got a great team from Winchester Round Table, Winchester Ladies Circle and Winchester 41s Club who have spent the year putting this on.
And it's raising money for such a good cause as well.
And it is 100%. So all the money from the event that's raised is going towards local Winchester charities and also MNDA Hampshire, which is the MND Association for Hampshire.
Have you done the event yourself? How tough is it?
I've taken part for approximately 7 years, I think, in a row. It's just a lovely event if you want to do a triathlon but you're not a proper triathlete. That's my best advice to take part for next year.
And lovely scenery to see as well, isn't it, along the River Itchen?
It's a beautiful site in Winchester. We have to thank Winchester College, whose ground it is, and the Kingsgate Tennis Club, who offer us their site as well. So it's an amazing site, lovely along the river, and a real family community feeling.
Since it started in 2004, Pedal Paddle Pace has raised more than £150,000 for charity. Planning is already underway for next year's event.
Hi, I'm Paul Blitt, and it's time on Winchester Now for our weekly shout-outs. So we've just heard about Pedal Paddle Pace, so let's give our first shout out to the organisers who spent a year arranging the event and the volunteers who gave up their time on the day to help marshal and encourage the participants. Well done too to all those who took part, helping to raise money for such good causes. Winchester Radio was also there playing music and making announcements, so a shout out to our colleagues too. And a few weeks ago we told you about an inspiring young woman called Katie Peller who had childhood eye cancer and was putting on a concert to help the charity that supported her through her illness. She was joined by some of Hampshire's most talented young musicians. Well, some of the Winchester Radio team attended the concert and were in awe at the talent and said it was a brilliant and moving event. So a huge well done to Katie and all the team for bringing such enjoyment and for raising over £1,000 so far for the Childhood Eye Cancer Trust. And staying with fundraising, staff on the Nick Jonas ward at the Royal Hampshire County Hospital have made over £1,000 by putting on a cake sale. Nick Jonas is the chemotherapy centre at Winchester Hospital. The funds will be used to improve the unit for patients. Congratulations to a group of young people who have received their Duke of Edinburgh Gold Awards from the Lord Lieutenant of Hampshire at a special ceremony at the Great Hall. They've worked hard for the achievement, including many hours of voluntary work, expeditions, improving a skill and physical activities. The Mayor of Winchester was among the guests honouring their achievements. And finally, oh, don't you just love the and finallys? And finally, every weekday evening, a pupil from Winchester College goes to the Winchester Beacon and does the washing up after the residents' evening meal. This arrangement's been going on for many years, with pupils from the school giving up their time as part of the school's community service programme, and a special celebration has been held to thank the pupils for their contributions. Well, what a great load of shout-outs today. Keep up the good work, guys. More shout-outs in next week's Winchester Now.
Winchester Radio.
Young musicians at Winnell Rock School are preparing to put on their annual show. Called Tomorrow, Yesterday, Now, it takes place at the Theatre Royal next Wednesday the 19th. 3 groups of different ages meet at Unit 12 each week. I went along to rehearsals and began by talking to project coordinator Peter Brown about how it all began.
So Winnell Rock School set up 20 years ago in order to provide free music tuition for young people who couldn't either afford to get into music or particularly weren't attracted by the music curriculum at school. Quite often they're sort of like learning about Beethoven and classical instruments and things, and they don't want to do that, not necessarily interested in reading scores, but they've got music within them and they want to let it out. That's what we do. We find a way of quickly sort of like releasing their musical energy.
And just watching them now, they seem to love it, don't they? What do you see they get out of being part of this?
They get, obviously musical progression out of it, but actually that largely comes secondary often to socialising, to being with other people, to allowing them to explore their feelings, particularly when they're doing their lyric writing. Explore their feelings, explain them in their lyrics, and then express them in their singing.
And a lot of the people here helping out are all volunteers, aren't they? And a lot of the instruments are given for free too.
We virtually exist on donations of all sorts, be it people donating their money to help us buy things, to help us pay for the hire of the venue, people donating instruments, and people donating, most valuably, their time as tutors, as trustees, as people who sort of like repair stuff, people just working behind the scenes. It really works in that way.
And what do you all get out of doing it?
You see the benefits that it actually has for the young people, and that's good enough. That's good enough.
Hi, I'm Thea.
I'm Tyler.
I'm Jasper.
I've been doing this for 2.5 years. I really enjoy the freedom to create different music and also, for example, share my own songs. It's always a really cool thing when you hear a song come together and you just write it in your bedroom.
What do you think it means to you to be part of this team?
It definitely means friendship, and I've definitely made lots and lots of friends here. I really like the fact that I'm able to do this stuff, because if I was in the situation I was 2.5 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to do this, and I wouldn't have had the confidence I have now to go on stage and perform. I was bullied quite badly and had to move schools. I'm now homeschooled, which then gives me more time for songwriting, which is good. But because of that, I really struggled with lots of social issues. But now I'm much more confident in myself with regards to friendships and social interaction and stuff.
It's just a really nice way to have something in the week. It doesn't matter what mood I'm in, I always just look forward to it. Every week I'm just really excited for it, I guess.
And what about being part of this show that's coming next week?
Well, I'm very excited. I've done them before, but there's always kind of been the highlight of the year. They've just always been a really great opportunity to learn so much about how it is being on stage and what that's like, I guess.
I've been doing it since September, and for me a lot of it's about expressing myself, so I can come here after a long week. It's a way to talk about things which I can't talk about to my friends or to my parents through music. It tends to just bottle up over the week, and rock school, it just all soaks out, and it's really easy to be me and let that happen, yeah.
So how do you feel after the end of a session then?
Well, it depends on how the session's gone. Sometimes it can be quite stressful if I'm trying to learn a new song, but overall my mood lifts and I feel a lot better about myself or about just the band we're in and the music we're making. So.
And what about you? What are your thoughts about the show coming up?
Oh, the show's going to be great. This will be the second time I'm going on stage and performing with Rock School. Every time it gets a bit easier and I love it. It's a great way of building confidence, and I can't wait to see all my friends and family in the audience supporting me and the band. And yeah, great.
Each year we have a summer show at the Theatre Royal, which is always an opportunity to celebrate their achievements, what they've done musically, to thank everybody who has helped during the year, be they front of the house or behind the scenes with helping the show come together. The other thing we get out of it is just an opportunity to congratulate them all on everyone's achievements during the year. Regardless of where they started from, they'll all have made progress in something, either playing their instruments, keeping time better, writing better lyrics, singing better, or just sort of like being there as a really positive influence upon everyone else in the band. And that's the other thing that in the show gives us an opportunity to say, everybody, well done for doing your part. The Play to the Crowd have been really great this year, so they've issued a pay what you can sort of pricing policy. The tickets start at only £3. I think they recommend you to pay £10, but there are tickets at £3, £6, £10, £15 and £20. All the proceeds go to the Theatre Royal to Play to the Crowd to enable them to continue supporting community events, and more power to them.
And tell me a bit about the music that they're going to perform as well.
So they'll all be performing their original songs. They're quite wild in some cases, quite wonderful. They're genre defying. I can't necessarily put them into a category. The main thing is sort of like just feeling the love that there is in terms of the encouragement that we give everyone to do their best and to enjoy themselves.
And it must be quite exciting for you to see the smiles on their faces when they go up on that stage.
Sometimes you don't see a lot of smiles on their faces actually when they go on the stage. There is a bit of rabbit in headlights and whoa, what have we let ourselves in for? But actually, as they work through it, the serious faces fall, they begin to enjoy themselves, and at the end, actually they go, I want to go back on again, it's over in a flash. There's a lot of build up and worrying for it. Their bit will be over in 15 minutes and then, I wish I could do it again.
There's more information about the show on the Winnell Rock School or Theatre Royal website. That's all for this week. Many thanks for listening.